today, we're off to the town of Bavi. Just west of the city, but still within the city limits, this is an easy weekend trip. Heck, even an afternoon trip if you partied a little too hard last night. So, strap in, let's go. So Bavi is an agricultural region known for three main things: beautiful mountain views, fresh dairy products, and for some reason that I'll probably never fully understand, ostrich farms. However, we didn't make it very far out of the city before realizing that some of the effects of Typhoon Yagi were still noticeable on the outskirts. We didn't want to risk getting floodwater in our camera gear, nor my fluffy white curls, so we opted to check for an alternate route first, which was an idea that was pretty immediately shut down. But where there is a will, there is a way, as they say. Right away, we met up with this uncle here who was happy to help us get past the flood. "The water's up to your balls," which was definitely not true, but that's salesmanship. And we've always wanted to try ripping around on one of these little wagons anyway, so we figured we'd give it a shot. Why not? And just like that, we were off. Whee! All in all, the deepest parts only got up to about the knee of an adult human specimen. Nothing that we couldn't have gotten through on the bike, but this was an experience, so worth it just to say that we've done it. Because I'm not a big fan of swimming myself, I've never liked it. And one important comment that I feel requires at least a bit of reiteration due to how poignant it is whee! Now, remember the main rules of driving through floodwater. The first is don't do it, especially if you're not very familiar with what is or could be under the water. The second rule is if you choose to do it anyway, try not to go deeper than your muffler. If it ends up happening, keep on the throttle so that the exhaust will continue to push out the water and keep it from getting up into your engine. But remember that as the water gets deeper, water pressure increases at a faster rate than the air pressure fighting against it, for some reasons that are beyond my dog's brain to understand. Finally, there's your insulting Vietnamese language lesson of the day. Up cha. Or dog brains. Do what you will with that, speciesist. Now that we'd made it to the other side of the pond, we settled up for a pre-negotiated 60K and the aquatic portion of the drive was complete. And so with that, tip me. Let's go. Three more things to keep in mind out there. Even though most of the roads are modern and really high quality, it's not all of them. Also, always be ready to deal with the breakout storm. They happen. Finally, don't worry, because there will always be a cafe to shelter away in. But as a wise old dog once said, no snacks last forever. And pretty much immediately after getting back on the road, I had to convince the interns to pull over for some real lunch. Because it was there and because it was delicious, we decided to stop in for some komzang ba, a plate of fried rice and a bowl of nice saucy stir-fried beef and pickled vegetables. Kom, rice. Zang, fried. Z, pickled veg. Ba, beef. If you spend any time in Vietnam, you'll probably come across it. It's a staple and it deserves to be because it's delicious. Now that the bellies are full and we're cooled down, time to get back out under the sun. So, it was about this time that we tried to enter Bavi National Park, that the staff member working the ticket counter informed the intern that Typhoon Yagi, shameless plug in the description, that had hit a couple of weeks earlier had caused a landslide that had completely wiped out the road, as can be seen here on this pretty impressively up-to-date satellite image. We decided not to get in the way of the workers repairing the road just for a clip of video, and instead we decided to check out the area around the mountain and try and find some other places with views. This wasn't entirely successful either. Sometimes life puts a landslide or a tree in your path, and the best way to handle it is to just change that path. So, we decided to settle on an ostrich egg omelet for dinner. Daddio is ostrich. Not the most widely applicable piece of vocabulary, but relevant for us today. We started making the rounds and trying to get our hands on one of these big ol' eggs. The first price we were quoted was $500K, which we didn't accept as it seemed like a tourist price. I'm just a poor dog, nobody pays me, YouTube isn't monetized, and we don't have a Patreon. Also, I'm just too lazy to get a real job. So, we decided to go for ostrich meat instead, which was a great deal at only $270K per kilo. Ostrich meat is a red meat, and when marinated correctly before cooking, it can taste like a good quality, if a bit gamey, cut of beef. And shout out to this young man here. He was super friendly and welcoming, really polite, and we know he subbed to the channel, so ciao Ben. We ended up with a little over a half kilo of thigh meat, which we paid $150K for. While mandatory tipping culture is something that really shouldn't be imported, it's still important to recognize good service when you get it. Now it's time to head home, cook this up, and get the meat in our mouth, or put his bird in our... you know what I mean. I chose to go for the air fryer with no seasoning because I am a very healthy dog. The interns weren't quite content with a couple of chunks of unseasoned ostrich meat for dinner, so I granted them access to the fridge and pantry to let them whip up something for themselves. Hand-kneaded dough, some tomato sauce, cheddar cheese, some mozzarella, caramelized onions, butter-fried mushrooms, and of course, some ostrich thigh marinated in olive oil with salt, pepper, thyme, and oregano, then seared and sliced. And ta-da! An ostrich pizza. Thanks for coming along with us on this admittedly kind of oddball adventure. Make sure to lick that like button and paw subscribe, and we'll see you on the next one, homies. Toodles!